in the hall with Randy Stratton, son of Dayton Stratton, and the infamous / famous / much talked about and prized the rink. What year did the rink open?
The end of '65, and it was originally, the real name of it was the Fayetteville Entertainment Center. My parents had just had the old rink that my grandparents had originally, where City Lumber Company is now. And that's where they first, had the place there. My dad started experimenting with little sock hops or whatever. He had Conway Twitty and Carl Perkins came in and did a couple of them, see how it worked out. And it went over great, and he got to think about this concept on the East Coast of roller rinks were a big deal, the Coney Island and all that stuff. Anyway, so they sold the place, and they want to get a bigger place, so you do concerts and skating and whatever. So he sold it to City Lumber. They built the place in late '65, and started having, of course, it got nicknamed the rink because all the college kids would have skating parties, and kids too on Sunday, but the college kids would rent it to have parties and stuff, and they bring their cakes of beers, bring your own. We didn't have a liquor permit. He had enough of dealing with the ABC with the Rockwood and all his clubs before. He thought he'd do it that way, and so he'd have concerts and all ages come in. It wouldn't be his problem with the liquor thing. So anyway, they started having parties, and it just got a nickname. That's where they all went to on the weekends for dances and concerts too, and it just kind of got, let's go to the rink, and the rink just kind of caught on, and so everybody kind of forgot it was actually the Fayetteville Entertainment Center is what
and now it's still the building still exists. It's now the Arkansas Event Center, so it never really has changed the theme.
Right, we could have kept the name, and we could have been saying, well, we're here in '65 and all that stuff, but they want to change their name. That was up to them. It wasn't like they were changing it because they're ashamed of it. It was just that they wanted it more of something to fit the full club thing.
Right.
I had gotten a liquor permit for it, too.
Ironically enough, I spent my 18th birthday in that building on the day I turned 18.
Oh, really?
I actually got in a lot of trouble for not coming home till 7 o'clock in the morning.
That was a common. We'd get a lot of calls. Not mad at us, just you all should have some kind of. That's when kind of the carpool or the group ride thing started coming. Wait, my mom was ahead of her time with the daycare centers too, because everybody said that was way before daycare centers. Everybody dropped their kids off. Lois will take care of them. It was kind of a deal where my mom would take care. She was a mom to so many people back in the day, and we got thinking years later, God, we could have been charging daycare center rates and really made it. But
it seems like that sense of community though was very present.
Oh, it was. My dad and mom, people wanted to drink and party, whatever. That was all cool, okay. But he was more about entertainment. I mean, his emphasis was on giving people something to do, and of course he was so tied into music. He, employed that concept of having concerts, and it caught on really fast. It was half the size then. It was like 900 seats. He had built his own. My dad was kind of ahead of his time. They used to talk about he built his own sound system. ZZ Top, when they came and played, they did sound. They used the sound system before they got everything loaded up, just jamming with it. And Billy Gibbons said, "Why don't we just use these things? These are great," And he built his own portable stage where the wings, the flaps would come down. He'd roll it out there for the dances and stuff and concerts on Friday and Saturday nights back in the day. So It's amazing how times you have to change in it. And of course, he's trying to always stay up on the cutting edge of new things that were happening. Of course, at '65, things were just starting to evolve, with touring.
Now, and that's very critical for our conversation now here in 2023.
Yeah.
There was no Facebook. There was no internet. There was no way of connectivity that way. So what was it like
to advertise and promote?
To do that, and also just to get connected to those touring bands and have them make your place there?
Well, my dad's connection with Levon, with the Hawks stuff, he'd been booking them and was kind of their promoter, record, and agent for this part of the country. And so that extended into a lot of their friends and connections. That's how I got Van Morrison, and of course I told you about the Chin Dogs with Leon, all those guys. But then Van Morrison, was with them. They came in and played with GLORIA, the big song, and just before he got solo with what was his first, a brown-eyed girl? Yeah. So Van Morrison, Joe Walsh, there's so many of them that came in and played the place because they'd heard about it. He was the first agent really to book Ike and Tina Turner in this region. They're out of St. Louis, and he'd been booking a big horn band called Bob Cuban and the N-Men, which was a big, Watch Out for the Cheater was their big song way back. They're really a good band, 14 pieces, and Dad loved the big show band type stuff. But Bob Cuban told him about this, you got to see this Ike and Tina Turner, based out of St. Louis. So he started booking them, booked him in his club at the Sundown Club in Norman, and in Fayetteville they came in and played. And then he booked him up at the university for a couple of shows at Barnhill, and it was Hullabaloo or Gabelee, I believe it was, where they had it out at the fairgrounds. So they came in and he started booking Ike and Tina Turner for several years before things, changed up, whatever, and of course they were having their fights and stuff on the side. But Tina and I talked several years ago, and I just asked her, I said, do you remember the rink by any chance? So, well, darling, how could I ever forget? That's the only place me and my girls could skate after a gig. Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah,
It seems like that in order to get those artists to keep coming back and to encourage new artists, there was an environment that was fostered.
Right.
There.
Oh yeah. Everybody knew my dad was, first of all, working with Levon, the Hawks, and Ronnie Hawks and the Hawks. When he'd go out on the road with them, he'd book the date, he'd go with. They all knew that he was a musician's guy. He'd have their back. He'd make sure they got paid. No BS. There was a lot of that going on back in the evolutionary process of the touring and stuff. There were a lot of.
It still goes on now.
Oh, still, yeah. And he was in the middle of a few things. Make sure the band, when he was with them at one of their shows in St. Louis, it's no exaggeration, he actually had to go through some pretty rough customers to get to their money, and he brought it back to the hotel, and the story is that they all counted out in tens and fives, whatever, 20 grand or whatever
it
was.
Work.
Yeah, he made it work. Bill Graham loved it when he started working with Bill Graham. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit. But they reunited, and Bill Graham, Levon said, told Bill, why don't you get our buddy Dayton to help on this tour coordinating? That's back when they toured with Dylan and the band, and all 74, and then they went out with Clapton and Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and so my dad was known to kind of have the backs of the musicians. Everybody wanted to play for him at the rink when they came through. That was kind of the thing. And ZZ Top stopped in, played in '71 when they were just starting to happen, but Joe Walsh and the James Gang loved it. They were coming over the mountain with Fat Fog, that infamous foggy thing, and they were late, about 11 o'clock before they got there. People were freaking out. They hung on. They got there and they rocked the place out. But my dad was a little pacing and stuff. People getting there a little late for stuff like that. And anyway, it worked out, and people just wanted to play the rink. And the locals here, he was really, of course, loved the local bands. River City was one that comes to mind that he really took under his wing and just tried to help them get a record deal out of, I believe it was not Shelter, but Stax. I think out of Memphis.
Yes.
I got to go back on my notes and see, but it was, yeah. Anyway, he helped them get that first deal, and just a lot of other groups too. Jericho, another band that had some horns and stuff that my buddies Rob Maryship and David Renner played in years ago, and some fond times that David Starr's, actually this is his brother Joey Starr in the Gatewood, but was one of the bands they had on the weekends that played good cover music and stuff. People enjoyed that, so they try to help bring things along with the local music, give them a place to develop their talents. And he always told them, if you're not known yet, stuff, because people always kind of poo-poo you're playing cover music. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody did. As you'll notice on that Levon the Hawk CD, they were playing covers. My dad always believed you got to learn to imitate before you can originate. That was kind of one of his things he always kind of lectured people on. It's okay to play other people's stuff and kind of implement your own style in that if you have some original music or whatever, but kind of get on the same level as the audience out there. They're just working people, that
they just came to hear some music that they recognize and are
right,
familiar
and then they know more about it. You're on their level. It's kind of untold. They're not actually coming right out and saying it, but they want to be on the level of the audience and not just sit here and play their own music and be into their own thing. And here's our stuff. If you like it, fine. If not, too bad. Well, no, they're
That
about.
explains so much about a musician that I have been so fortunate to play with over the years, Russ Hutchison.
Oh, Russ is a great guy. What a talent, yeah.
From what I understand, pretty much kind of grew up playing music out at the ring.
Yes.
He talks about it a lot, and I've only been fortunate enough to play with him since early 2000s, and he has this way of play it like the record boys.
Yep.
We're a blues band and a biker blues band at that, and with we were the house band for a taco stand. I said it all the time. Jose's on Dixon was one of our favorite places to play.
Right, yeah.
But we could always count on the fact that the crowd wanted to sing along. The crowd and Russ really taught me how to read that room.
Right.
And how to stick to there's a place for putting your own twist on things.
Oh yeah.
But when a venue is paying you to entertain their audience and keep them in the crowd, play it like the record boys.
Right.
That just clicked to me what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's about, you're performing because you like to perform and music, and you want your audience is what your life's about, right?
Yes.
What fun is to sit there in a room, like I was sitting in the shower singing to yourself. You want to, so that's kind of my deal. I always people always say, why didn't you ever get into music? And I said, well, I did. But first I thought I was going to be the next Lance Allworth in football. I was convinced of that until I didn't grow too much to be that size. Once I started kind of realizing that, my grandmother always tried to get me on the piano, and I want to go out and play football, whatever. Anyway, I finally tried to start playing the drums. I really did. And I'd sneak up on the stage when the bands would go away. Sometimes they'd come back and load the next day. They'd leave their equipment there. I've confessed this to several of them. They didn't mind. I didn't break anything or whatever, so they're fine with that. But anyway, I got in there. I tried. And I honest to God, I sound like two tennis shoes in a dryer. That's my. So if there are any bands out there that need that beat, that sound, two tennis shoes in a dryer, I'm your man. Okay.
That's a band name somewhere.
Isn't it? It really is. I mean, that's the only comparison I can find with two tennis shoes in a dryer. It fits perfect. But I had this James Brown rhythm on the dance floor. I figured I could transfer right to drums. Boy, you put two sticks in my hand, and I'd freeze up. Boy.
Don't feel bad. My drummer never even let me pick up a tambourine. I'm really that bad.
Really? Yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, it's just so frustrating. I went and tried the guitar. I've been stuck on the song Louie Louie for 60-something years now. So said, hell, I'm just going to get a phone and get these talented people gigs. That's how I'll fit in. Kind of take on my dad's thing.
That is a talent and a skill in itself. The gift of gab and the negotiations and the understanding of business. There's unfortunately a lot of musicians don't quite understand the business side of things, and there is not always someone there that is there to protect and educate and mentor and tutor the musicians.
Exactly. There's a lot of things you got to tell them they may not want to hear, but they'll appreciate it later. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, they kind of accept the imitate. You got to learn to imitate where you originate kind of thing. He kind of used on early bands starting out. They accepted that, and as he gone on here recently, I've noticed stuff. Some bands posting, they're down on doing a cover. They're stubborn about playing a cover like it's a bad thing. It's not, It's
what was the cover charge like in the 70s?
Well, I'll tell you this. I know that my first show after my dad's accident in '74, when I had to take over, the first show I ever did was Tower of Power, first big show, and Confunction opened. And I lost my butt. I had 1,300 people here on Tuesday night. How could I? I looked at everything. Well, maybe it's because I was charging $5 a damn ticket. It wasn't. I wasn't charging enough. But the cover charge for regular dances was about $3, if I remember correctly. And of course, times are different now, but then it was like $3.
Trying to get somebody to pay $3 now.
Oh God, I know.
It's pulling teeth.
It's amazing. Oh yeah. You're.
I've seen shows. We. Happy hour at George's, $5, $7 now, $9, $10 sometimes, depending on the band.
Right.
The other night we went to a show at Smoke and Barrel with a band I had never heard of. But for some reason, 1 week prior, my boyfriend had just mentioned, I want to go see X random band. I'm all for it. He goes everywhere with me. He supports everything I want to do. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I look at the ticket price, and it was $15. I'm like, okay. But I haven't been to Smoking Barrel in a while, so that's my for the season.
Right. Yeah.
Because we try to do something every weekend to support local music.
Right.
So to budget it nightly is difficult. But when we got there, every musician that I know and most of the hardcore music fans that I know were in that tiny bar at $15 a head. The band was an hour and a half late.
Oh boy.
No one left the front of the stage waiting on them. They couldn't even get sound checked without tripping over people. For this band that I had never heard of. They were entertaining. It reminded me a little of Trans-Siberian Orchestra without the orchestra. Just guitars and masks and two drums facing each other on stage. Daijuku. Please, Bucci, don't shoot me if I didn't get the name right. You know Bucci?
Oh, God, yes. He's another great. Yeah, we go way back, and I helped get him his gig at the West Siloam Cherokee Casino, too. He had been working stuff with the Cates and stuff, and I knew Rusty Love was the one booking the original Cherokee. That's when all the casino wars started up way back, you know. I was right there to book stuff for her. It was Twisters then, before Hard Rock had merged with them or whatever. And then, of course, she was doing the West Siloam thing, and they started expanding and upgrading, and so they'd call me to book stuff there. And somehow the sound man ditched them, whatever happened. It was a panic deal. She needed to get somebody pretty quick, within a week. And I recommended Bucci, get Bucci. And so he got the gig, over there, and was there for quite a while.
That seems to be the...
He made me look good, too. I always like to get people, when I start booking stuff, too, I always try to book, I just try to get the best stuff because it shows on me, too, if I book a lemon or something. I mean, I want to help every musician, believe me, get gigs and stuff, but at some point, you got to kind of realize that if they're not ready yet, it's no slap in the face. Who am I to critique somebody that's playing music? I can't even play. I sound like I'm the two tennis shoes in a dryer.
But you're a buyer.
Yeah, I'm the buyer, and I promote them, and I'll do the best I can. But if somebody's not ready, I got to just tell them, what I think at the time. And some of them get, who the hell does he think he is? Whatever. It's not nothing personal. Just, give a little time, whatever, because it comes back on me, and that's just another person that it's hard to sell stuff to
Well, if you're losing money, then you're not able to continue
Right,
helping.
exactly. I mean, it's all... So, and again, we took pride. My dad started doing this stuff in 1954 at the tea table, and he would take the stuff he'd promote and bring to the clubs, and he'd also try to book him gigs around. That's what kind of started his circuit that he created with all the greats that were, like I was telling you about we're talking on the phone the other day about
Go ahead, name drop. I want to hear them all.
I was like 5, 6 years old. These cats would always drive up. Their station wagon, always a station wagon and a pull a U-Haul. They'd stop in, on the way out of town. I guess there was always money on the table, and there's maybe the one channel that had pro football. They'd watch all that talk, and they'd head on their way. And finally, as years went on, I go, who were these guys? Dad would tell me some of the people. Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison, of course, Conway Twitty. People like this were stopping in to get paid. And settle up the weekend.
Just walking into your house on a Tuesday,
yeah, and then heading
Wednesday.
on to the next place. He'd a lot of times have them book the next place too, like Tulsa or Norman or Joplin, Dallas. Dallas is the place where Robbie Robertson mentioned on the last waltz that they played this place. A fight broke out. He said there weren't enough people there to have a fight. And he found out later we found out later that was one of Jack Ruby's club. And I found out that was one of the places my dad booked there. Was when, of course, nobody knew at the time what Jack Ruby was about to do, right? And yeah, all these people would play there, and musicians. I got a lot of this information from some bands from OU, the students that played at a sundown club there in Norman. They played Dallas, and David Wilcombe was his name that has helped me with a lot of the research on this circuit they had back in the day, and he verified they all played there too, and he's one that educated me a little bit on Steve Miller. I checked the notes on Steve Miller's band that came up and played for Dad in the 58, 59. They were just in high school, and they played everybody played the Jack Ruby's club back then, and all the people were comparing notes to, we played that place too, Jack Ruby. Of course, again, nobody knew what Jack Ruby was connected with or whatever.
So let's play a game. Who's Jack Ruby and what happened?
Yeah, he was the one that killed. He was a big John F. Kennedy guy and Democrat, obviously, and was just American. And he didn't like what Lee Harvey Oswald did before the trial. He decided he was going to take it upon himself, went and shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there is all these connections to mafia and all that came up with him. And of course, again, they were playing. Of course, I get these were early '60s and stuff, so they didn't know all this stuff was about him, right? And
that's incredible.
Isn't it? I mean, these guys, and Steve Miller's band with Boz Scaggs, and I've got to do my research on it. The leader of the Dixie Chicks they all went to high school.
Natalie?
Yeah, I think that's it. They went to St. Mark's High School in Dallas, and the Marksmen was their band, and apparently Steve had kind of those Beach Boys dads, one of those stage dads going to push him to get great. Anyway, Billy Ray Smith Sr. and several Razorbacks and some students were telling my dad about at a second club he had, the Shamrock, which was just before he got with Ronnie Hawkins on the Rockwood. He was booking everything out there. Jerry Lee Lewis played out there. Ronnie Hawkins with Levon just starting out was playing there, and it was a popular dance place there also. But anyway, they're all telling my dad about this band out of Dallas. God, you got to get these guys to play. So they booked them for, I think, an Arkansas SMU game. SMU or TCU, one of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You want to book them for that because all the people would be in town for that area too, for the game up here. And it was Steve Miller's band, the Marksmen, with Boz Scaggs and Natalie from Dixie Chicks. I mean, small world, right? And
wow. So, I mean, again, we're here for Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I would absolutely say that your father, when it comes to the timeline of Northwest Arkansas music, the level of production, the names that you can continue to list, I would say that pretty much qualifies his name to be listed into the Hall of Fame.
I'm not, this is my dad. Everybody, wants to brag on their dad usually, whatever. But in this case, it's legit. I'd always get, Earl Kate, the Cates, and Levon and them, and a guy named Joe Phelps I want to touch on here when we're talking too about. He's one that had Video Acts Entertainment Corporation, cutting edge, started way ahead of his time in about 1970s, booking stuff, using videotapes. That go down. He had the club, the West Street was the name of the club that he had bought out and set his office up there on West Street, right there on West Street and what the heck, Lafayette, right there in the corner. And anyway, he would videotape, and he got a real good operation going for a long time. But he was the guy that kind of helped bring me along too. When my dad was busy doing stuff, I was kind of starting to get interested in music. He was helping me get the feel for booking stuff. But he always said I'd always got to get hold of Joe. And am I getting too carried away with my dad's stuff? I kind of knew that it was pretty important stuff he had started or transformed around here, and he said, no, good. He was the guy that gave everybody really a lot of their start, like Larry Schaefer, Little Wing in Tulsa, who had the Canes Ballroom, tells me about how, my dad got him started in the business way back and influenced a lot of people back then, and there weren't a lot of people to influence back then because a lot of people weren't in the business then. Now, I'm starting to feel like I'm the only guy left that's not in a band. No, what? Everybody seems like they're in a band or involved with whatever. So
you're still such a very integral part, and I see everything as a big machine, and we are all small wheels and turning together. But you brought up the videographer. That's another thing that I want to acknowledge in this process, in this Hall of Fame.
Joe was big. I mean, he went out to Vegas, out to Los Angeles, left and got his ambitions were high, and he wanted to get out there and see what he could do with the big boys, which eventually what I wanted to do too, is try to get out there and deal with the big shots out there and see how I could hold my own, whatever. But Joe got out there and built one of the biggest ad agencies. Every Fender guitar with his music background ended up being his anchor client, and he just he's he's just really successful. He's semi-retired now. I think his son's kind of involved with it. And anyway, he's an awesome guy. He was a mentor for me for sure. You know, that 1 year of working with him before my dad's plane crash, I was kind of a little bit more ready, at least on the booking end, on running a public assemblage place like the rink. That was a little more that was a little tougher challenge, you know, try to get used to dealing with public and stuff like that. But yeah, my dad was the one that kind of really, in '54, he started from scratch. Moved here, he's from Whittier, California. His mom was killed in a car accident when he was 14. His dad, my granddad, which I never met, anyway, sent my Aunt Jo, his younger sister, to the Elkins community when that happened, and Dad stayed behind, but Aunt Jo stayed here, and she went to Fayetteville High, was a cheerleader, and she's the one that actually introduced my dad to Ronnie Hawkins. They were classmates. That's how they first started.
How cool is that?
Isn't it? And she was quite a gal. She lived to be 85, passed away a couple of years ago, not from COVID, but during that time where nobody could have a funeral or whatever. It's kind of really upset us that we couldn't, you know, give her the proper send-off. But anyway, I'm getting off subject there. But
not at all. She deserves a big mention.
Yeah. So she was here. My dad was hung back at 14 and hung around there. And you know, when you're in Whittier, California at 14, your dad's not really paying much attention. You can get in trouble. He didn't, but he thought he'd better go. You know, a couple years later, he enlisted and went to the Korean War. Came back. He decided to come here and check it out. And him and Mary Hinton were real good friends. He kind of helped Mary a little bit down there at George's at first. And Mary always, she told me the story. She said, "I always told your dad he should get his own club. He should get his own club. He knows how to handle stuff." And apparently, some confrontation he had with the ABC was picking on her. My dad got on the ABC pretty good about messing with her. True story. And I wish she was around, bless her heart, to help tell some of this stuff. But she's the one that kind of got my dad confidence up to go get his own place. So he got the Tea Table Club out where Dennis Home Furnishing has been for years, right, and out by the airport. And he hired out one of his buddies, Ken Brooks, a Golden Glove boxer, and anyway, great guy. Anyway, they got things going, and Ronnie would come out there and sit in and watch him play. Carl Perkins was there, you know, playing he did the Blue Suede Shoes song. He premiered it there. Nobody knows this, but nationwide, he asked my dad, I got this new song. We're going to premiere it right here. And of course, if we had today's world, it would have been all over. The mass would have been seeing this. But
phone out.
Yeah, it took a while for it to trickle through the channels. That Blue Suede Shoes was, they did it at this place in Fayetteville, Arkansas, of all places. And yeah, but Carl came back a few more times, and Ronnie was there, and he finally invited Ronnie up on the stage to jam with him. And that's what Ronnie had. He was a great athlete too, by the way. Hawkins was a good football player, diver. Him and Herman Tuck were diving buddies and everything. They were really, really close. And so anyway, that's when I started realizing he had a little bit of music talent, or was really into the music thing, and that's what kind of got him going.
And having access to that kind of community,
right,
and immersion directly into
there were only,
it.
I think I checked the population. There's only like 17,000 something people in Fayetteville at that time, and not the growth that Springdale, Rogers, and Bentonville hadn't developed yet either. So you have the students and 17,000, and to this day I still don't know in our population if they include the students or not.
I'm not sure.
I'd heard they include them if they were actually living off campus as resident, but not on campus.
Not paying the out-of-state tuition and living.
Right.
I can easily say that there's at least 17,000 musicians.
Yeah, I was going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. Now it's like, it's just not only 17,000 now, it's musicians, and then the 500,000, whatever we've got. God, if we had the numbers at the rink that we have oh God.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have been really, really stupid to lose money on anything out there if I, oh God, because it was always about, do a show in the summertime. It was kind of a, boy, don't try it, with the students gone. Everything was.
Absolutely. I remember there was a club, it's a restaurant now, and it didn't exist 15 years ago, but Legacy Blues Lounge was over behind in the parking lot off Dixon. Now it's like the Barber Building or something. It's that big, the first big monstrosity on Dixon that was built, 3-story.
Yeah, right.
They put a little a blues club in there, and I would always schedule we did a blues thing every Thursday night, blues jam, but I got first dibs at the calendar.
Oh, really?
And
Cool.
I would go grab the University Razorback football game calendar, and I'm
Yes.
like, okay,
Oh,
every
exactly.
home game, put me here.
Right. Oh, yeah,
And
you
it
still
was
do
a
that.
fine dining experience,
Right.
with a jazz early and blues later,
Right.
and TVs all around, and the alcohol. I mean, we were setting the scale. We were setting the tone for, for that whole weekend, for that whole night. I mean, we would pack the place out. But to try to do anything and book, let's say I wanted to book a show somewhere not on Dixon, somewhere not related to football goers.
Yeah.
Crickets,
Yeah,
nobody
right.
showing up. The band may not even show up on time because they're watching the game somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So programming is absolutely one of those small details
Right.
that the beginner musician, or maybe the musician who has someone to take care of everything
Right.
for them, doesn't quite understand.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's not a school for
No, and I'm glad
how
I've
to
heard
program
something.
entertainment.
Right, and I think in the Fayetteville Library, don't they have some kind of entertainment, music education thing they started? I've
They
heard
are actually
something.
working, and the fun thing about Fayetteville Public Television, they started recently working with the public library, because there are two separate studio type situations. There's this, which is public access to all Fayetteville residents or businesses in Fayetteville. And then if you have a library card, you can go over there, and there's studio production classes. They teach you how to edit your own music videos, to make your own loop and beats and stuff. I mean, that
Awesome.
kind of...
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get, I told Joe Phelps a little bit about it when we were talking the other day. And he's been back a few times to visit, but he's not aware of some of the stuff going on that he was kind of into way back in 70, 71. It was really amazing. He'd love to see this stuff going on.
We are very fortunate in that our market in Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas alone has these kind of tools and materials, but I really think it is because there are so many undercover musicians working real jobs,
Right,
if you
yeah.
will. I mean, the
Right.
director here is
Yeah.
Dan Robinson. He's a
Yeah.
drummer, guitar player,
Right.
radio DJ, programming director.
Uh-huh.
Like, this man has worn so many hats.
Yeah,
And I think that underground society of us
yeah, oh yeah.
really do keep it where it's accessible. And that's what's special about Northwest Arkansas. I'm not originally from here. My mom's family is from out in Elkins. And I came home to Northwest Arkansas. I say that. When I made the decision in 2003, like, that I was not going to live anywhere else in the United States, because I had friends that played music here. This felt very safe and sheltered and shiny and new.
Right.
And I could not find that musical bubble anywhere else.
Yeah, not as many distractions. You kind of get focused on the music stuff and not get. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And the magic, and now that I've gotten older and I've been able to travel, not as extensively as I'd like to, but I've been to Kansas City, Memphis, Dallas. I go back to Jackson, and now I can kind of see it. You know, you go to a concert and you can tell the musicians. They're standing there watching,
Right.
judging every note.
Yeah, right.
But that's the guy I go
Yeah.
stand next to, and
Yeah, exactly.
and that kind of that language that's almost unspoken, being in the music community and having that language to
Right.
speak. And I'm rambling, I'm stuttering,
No,
and that
no,
happens.
it's kind of that's kind of the nature of what we're doing anyway. It's kind of a rambling kind of occupation of music. You know, it's,
So let's
it's
talk
one
about
big ramble.
let's talk about these real quick. So we started our conversation, and I'm not sure how far he hit play on. So we're gonna discuss "Leave On" and the Hawks, recorded live at Fond du Lac Club, Tulsa, Oklahoma, January 1965.
Yeah, that's the CD. I decided a friend of mine, Connell Miller, played back in the day with the Rockwood. He's from Oklahoma. He's the one that actually went to school, and he's the other guy too, St. Mark's in Dallas, that knew about the Steve Miller and all that stuff. But anyway, he's up here, and he worked with my dad at the Rockwood while he was going to college. And he's the one who told me a lot of stuff I didn't know about my dad, too. Teacher martial head. My dad had his own, he was actually an official employee of the university part-time, too, with his own martial arts class. Taught at Old Main. And then he had the Rockwood, and that's where, anyway, you'd always see my dad there, but he ended up working for him out at the Rockwood, and his band played, and he followed the Hawks around a lot of their gigs, too. He got to be kind of a guy that, really liked their music and knew they were special. And so he was over there when they played. My dad had him at the Tahlequah, the Northeast Oklahoma College, Tahlequah, several Oklahoma places. But he got wind of this thing in Tulsa and showed up there, and he asked my dad and Levon if he could bring his 2-track and record last night. Yeah, sure, And so he was doing that, and at the Fond du Lac, this was after the Razorbacks had beaten Nebraska in the Cotton Bowl, and the New Year's Eve bash was Levon and the Hawks. And my dad had them play for that, and they had some time to kill before they were going back to Canada, and they'd already, had leaked it out that they were going to start doing something a little different, transform a little what they were doing up in Canada, and they went over and got hooked up with Dylan and all that stuff. So this was kind of the last hurrah for this area as the Hawks, the Levon stuff. So they called the Fond du Lac, where they'd been playing, first started playing with Ronnie Hawkins over there, and then they kept it going. They built up a good fan base, and they decided to go over there with a little time to play one final hurrah in Tulsa, and then head on to Canada. So anyway, Leon Russell and J.J. Kell and Jimmy Markham, these guys from future legends, they weren't at that time, but they, and of course Leon used to come over and play with a band, when his real name was Russell Bridges. So he used to come over. He was familiar with him and liked him a lot. And J.J. Kell and Markham also. So they all came out, brought their friends, and packed the club, and everybody. The buzz was this. They're leaving. They didn't know what the hell they were leaving for sure. It was all in the future, but they knew they were good. Something was going to happen because they'd already gotten it got out that the Hawks, Levon the Hawks, were one of the great bands in, at least club band in the nation, coast to coast, and word traveled fast about them, So anyway, they stopped over there and played that club gig, and we recorded on a 2-track, and Connell sat on this thing for years and years, and I heard the original recording they had without any work done on tweaking it or whatever, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
But
as you can imagine, the clinking of the glasses and talking.
You could hear the tape. A guy coming up, Bill Avis, a great friend of ours that road managed for Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks and Levon the Hawks for years and years. And even stayed behind, sometimes helped my mom and dad run the Rockwood when the rest of them went back to Canada. He'd just hang out here because he knew they were coming back and playing more. He just hung out. He got to be a good friend. Anyway, he was the road manager at that time, and he came up. You could hear a voice go, "Hey, who said you could record this?" And then Connell, well, Dayton said it was. Oh, Dayton, okay, go ahead. You hear it on the tape. Anyway, we cut that part out on the CD, but that was a night where it was really a special night, but he sat around forever on it. And I took it and said, well, let me go to my buddy Darren Novotny, who everybody knows Darren here, great drummer himself, and has a studio there, and he's amazing. Some of the stuff that guy. So, I mean, he's best kept secret. He's underrated. The guy Darren can do some really cool stuff. That studio he did some tweaking. Trying to take a live tape and get the audience noise down where you could hear the music. It would take the music down too. He found a way to tweak it, and I'll be damned if he didn't get it down.
The gear that they have these days is amazing to isolate those sounds.
With this 2-track, he was able to. So it's presentable enough. We put a warning on the thing or whatever that it's not studio quality. It is what it is, but it'd be fun to listen to and reminisce about those days, and you can hear really well. You don't hear the drums quite as well as you would want to with Levon, but there's enough to hear it. But you can understand why Levon and the guys always kind of thought of Richard Manuel as their lead singer. Technically, he was their lead singer. That's why they always looked at it. And you could hear that because he's singing most of the stuff. Levon later on, sang most of the band's signature stuff. Richard was. Oh,
that
man.
was their singer. So I'm going to read off the names there. So it's recorded at Fond du Lac Club by Connell Miller, 1965. Executive producer, Randy Stratton. Stratton Entertainment producer, Connell R. Miller.
Yeah.
Special thanks to Darren Novotny, Bill Avis, Earl Kate, and in memory of Levon Helm, Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, Linda Lois and Dayton Stratton, Joe Huff, Ed Windsor, Wayne Earp, and Ronald Boren. That is an amazing list.
Yeah.
Of so many talented humans.
Oh yeah, they're inside the liner notes. It talks about when you open that up. It's got pictures of the poster we used to advertise them playing the Cotton Bowl New Year's Eve thing for Arkansas fans, and some other throwback pictures are pretty interesting. And then it talks about Leon and J.J. Kell and Jimmy Markham in the crowd and stuff, and a little bit more detail about the night. So
how fun! And now I just want to go through your entire collection. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to go with you one day with a camera and just follow you around with all your stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. Well, I've got so much stuff to organize. I've been.
So what are you working on now? I understand that you are still trying to preserve and memorialize all of this history. Well, number one, I'm with you. I want to help.
Yeah.
But tell us more about...
I've been working on, after my dad's plane crash and stuff, and I got thrown in the fire I was at university, junior year of university, and enjoying the college life. I was kind of helping him on and off. Like, he was doing all the shows at Barnhill for a long time. He did Chuck Berry, was the first show he ever did in '59 at the men's gym. Was the first big show he did, and
What?
And he brought B.B. King, of course, and just a slew of different shows in, and then he went out and did that tour with the Dylan and the band, and then with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. When he came back, he was working on some stuff. He had a construction thing too, where he built buildings and stuff out like the Fayetteville Airport. He's building a Tyson hangar and some stuff, and he was going to take his people that he had hired for that to go down to Fort Smith to get some blueprints. He came back, and then a thunderstorm hit, and anyway, he crashed. And that was just the day before he was heading back to Boston to meet with the band and resume the tour that was going to end in London, England, in Wembley Stadium with the band, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Joni Mitchell, whatever. So, but that all ended there. He had so many plans. He was going to double deck the rink. Bill Graham had sent him an engineer in from the Bay Area to show him how to do a thing like they did at Winter Park. They're going to double deck the rink and make it about 2,700 seats. Wow. And just expand. Lots of big plans. So that all ended, and I just got thrown in the fire and decided to do my best to help my mom try to keep the rink.
How old were you?
I was 21, just turned 21.
Yeah,
and I totally young. Like I said, I'd learned a little bit with my dad and with Joe Phelps on booking stuff, but not running a venue, right? So I got in there and I just kind of took the grief process and pushed through it with just keeping my dad's legacy thing going. It was never about me ever, never has been. And I was kind of a human dartboard. It seemed like the first couple of years, I made a few mistakes here and there, and then whatever. So take a walk in my shoes and try. Yeah.
I'm sure your dad probably made mistakes when he first started too. Nobody just remembers talking and brings it up all the time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of getting into the.
Well, I'm curious what you're working on now.
Oh yeah. So anyway, after all that was done, I went out to L.A. to shop some record deals and try to do some stuff different in the 80s. After doing some concerts with the Pointer Sisters and some things here I did after Dad's accident, I still did some stuff at Barnhill and worked with Larry Schaefer, Little Wing, and with Neil Pendergraft. We did the Pointer Sisters and some other things and kept that going. But I was kind of had this urge to try to, I don't know how to term it, but I want to get off the porch get out in the yard with the big dogs and see what I could do. So I went out west and that's when we did the Cape Brothers Malibu Sessions deal with Bonnie Raitt and Garth Hudson were on it. Did it at Shangri-La Studios and set up shop there for a little bit to try to see what I could do. And I had some other bands that I knew that had some good material. And again, it goes back to that, you don't want to put something, you only have so many bullets you can waste. You don't want to waste any because you may not get another chance with these people. You send them some flops, lemons, whatever, then they're going, oh God, Randy's back with another one of his deals. I'd make sure whoever I tried to shop for people, it was something that was at least, I mean, you're going to get turned down. I mean, how many times we've heard some of the great artists that have been turned down by every label so I knew that rejection was a part of it. But so anyway, I got out there and I was hammering away trying to get deals for people, and one thing led to another, and just trying to expand on my own thing, and finally at some point I did okay, but you get homesick, and my mom was getting up in her years, and I decided to get back here and kind of keep things going, help her out with some stuff. She got into real estate and some things like that, and so I was helping her, but I kept wanting to do my thing with the music, and the band, Levon and them got back together, and they wanted to start doing shows again with the band without Robbie. So I started booking a lot of their stuff, and one thing led to another with that. Got back into promoting a lot. Bonnie Raitt, is one that I did a lot with too, and that's how we got her connected to record.
How did you feel when she won the award last
I
year?
thought,
Unknown Blues.
Believe me, I was sitting back going, man, I'm not that old. I mean, these kids surely that are writing this stuff got to know about Bonnie.
Audacity.
That's when I first started realizing that when I'm talking to people of a certain age now, I got to accept the fact that they may not know the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
I mean, I mentioned Johnny Carson. They go, what? So I'm real careful on trying not to date myself. I never had that problem before. Somewhere along the line over these last few years, it went from not feeling that old to feeling old all of a sudden about.
Well, I think it's just that there's more of a disconnect. There's more information for us to be distracted by.
Right.
There's more people. There's more ways to access all that information, and
totally.
so
Good
stripping
Lord.
down all that fluff to get to the actual magic.
Right. And when I'm thinking back when you asked me about how we promoted with the ring back in the old days when there were, I was going to tell you that I was glad you asked that because I've donated a sign, one of my dad's signs, Al TNT Bragg Soul Review, 14-piece band from Dallas. The one that was left behind, somehow we kept it. I found it under the stage at the rink when we were clearing it out, and I held on that forever. And I got with Brian Embry at Roots and donated that to the Roots. I thought it'd be a good home to keep it. And it just shows how that's what he used to do. He used to put these signs on top of his car and drive around campus, especially, make sure when classes were letting out, whatever, everybody knew where to go. The rink, this band, whatever. And the Arkansas Traveler was good running, an ad in that and stuff. That was basically it, word of mouth. And back in the Rockwood days, when Roy Orbison or Jerry Lee Lewis, you couldn't find many ads on them because back then even, all you had to do is tell people, and the word of mouth was it. That's all you needed.
So tell me more about the Rockwood. You've mentioned it so many times. What was the Rockwood like? Where was it at?
The Rockwood is right where you go up Country Club Road, right at the bottom of the hill. You go to South School and you turn left to go up to the Country Club. It was right there on the bottom, right there at the bottom of that hill. On the left is the old, and Fay Jones. That was the first thing Fay Jones, a famous architect here, designed when he was going to college. That was his first thing he did was help the owner, the guy George Lennox that built the place at Field 47. He designed the place for him.
Wow.
He tells that story, and Faye used to joke that it was just enough money for taking me and my girlfriend, his future wife, to Mary Meister's for dinner. Stuff like yeah. So anyway, but Hawkins,
so your dad had the Rockwood Club?
Ryan Hawkins had known my dad, and my dad was booking him back, and he already knew about him from the tea table and Shamrock. They'd met, were buddies, and he was he did, I think if I remember correctly, he wouldn't have aged yet. He had my dad anyway partner with him on the deal to do the Rockwood. He would be the main controlling interest of the money thing but he had the liquor thing in my dad's name, the beer permit, because he's of age, of course, and they just resumed what my dad was already doing with the tea table in Rockwood or Shamrock, having bands play there, and they'd book them other places and get that thing going. But the Ronnie Hawks and the Hawks. That was kind of the first, you might say, the first concept is residency is kind of the day's lingo that you use for stuff. And they were kind of doing a residency thing because they stayed there and played. My dad booked them out on the road. When they put them out on the road some different places, he'd bring in Conway Twitty was Harold Jenkins and the Rockhousers was still his name then.
Wow.
And then, Jerry Lee Lewis had already played the Shamrock, came in and played for him, Roy Orbison, of course, Carl Perkins, several of them, and that played, and a lot of the good local bands here, too. The Del Reys, the Earl and Ernie Cates' first band, they used to come and peek in the side window and watch, I forgot who it was they were talking about they really always wanted to see, but they were, they're only like just barely of age, right? But they were the Del Reys. They started playing there. My dad actually booked them at his grand opening of his Sundown Club in 63 or 64 that he opened over there. The Del Reys did the grand opening at that place. And it was a circuit. It was kind of a hub where people would play because there was a good little stop-off for all these other bigger markets at the time back in those days when there really wasn't that big of a thing. I mean, there weren't as many bands, obviously, as there are now, right? And they all kind of knew each other. They kind of got talking. Well, Dayton can put you here and here and here. And it got to be this little Fayetteville, Joplin, Tulsa, Norman, Dallas kind of thing going.
Little pipeline.
And Bill Graham used to always, was fast, he used to always comment to Levon and stuff, that goddamn Dayton Stratton. Man, he's doing wonders. A sleepy little college town. God dang. He used to always talk fast. He could do all this stuff in this little area. When he was used to being Philadelphia and the Fillmore East, West, whatever. His thing with the big markets and seeing some of the stuff that came out here. These people that end up being future Hall of Famers were honing their craft, playing these gigs. Yeah, and
there's something special about Northwest
Arkansas.
There is.
And even this Confunction, this band, the first band I ever started working with after my dad's accident, I did on my own, was a group called Confunction, who ended up with 7 gold records and 11 on albums on Mercury Polygram, and we were great. They played the rink. They sold out 1,600 seats when they would double the size. Every time they come in town, they were based out of the Bay Area, but they based out of Memphis. They were using Isaac Hayes' studio there to work their own. This goes back to the original and cover stuff, right?
Yeah.
They knew to keep their chops up and make money and stuff. They needed to play cover music while they worked on their originals. So they were working their thing at the studio in Memphis, and they'd pick up college dates, and I'd book them here. I ended up getting an exclusive with them where I wouldn't share it to anybody on campus. I wanted to myself on
nice.
This. And from 70, after that happened, 74 was the first time I had. My dad's accident was August of 74. But that fall of 74, I got them into play, and then I had them back open for Tower Power. And they kept coming. They come in about 3 or 4 times a year, and they sell every time, 2 nights. They fit 1,600 people there, and finally 77 was the last time here, and they signed their deal with Mercury Polygram, and I never got them back again. The timing just never worked. So recently, a year ago, I got to share this with you because it's been something that you asked what I've been working on. This is what I've worked on for a year. Bruno Mars fell in love with it. That was his favorite band.
Really?
Bruno Mars, and he's one that's rescued old school soul and made it cool.
Absolutely.
And he's in his mid-30s. He's based out of Vegas, and he'd have him come in and play with him in Vegas and stuff. And anyway, their new album, they did a thing. Love's Train was a throwback hit by Confunction, one of their first top hits, and they wanted to do a remake of it, and they did that with the Silk Sonic, made it number 1. It was a Confunction tune, and anyway, he just loved it. Said, so we're talking about, they called me out of the blue back a year ago, July of 2022, wanted me to, let's put some dates together. They were doing a tour, and so I was helping them book a few shows that I could, help out with on some stuff with Confunction. And I said, we've got to do a Fayetteville reunion. It's been 40-something years, for God's sakes. And they said, yeah, let's do this. So we started talking. They were talking. Bruno Mars was the one that brought it up. He said, why not I help out on a couple of dates and help, if y'all don't mind, I'll headline, really make it a big deal. So they told me that. I said, God, I mean, it turned into I got the university.
So call me. I want to help.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just stand there. What do I need to do? Hold sandwiches?
Yeah, and I know people watch these and go, what the? It's true. I mean,
That's amazing.
It was a full circle thing. It was a validation to me that I apparently did okay with some of my own bands because they remember me all these years later to call me. And then Bruno Mars drops in this I did. So I'm going nuts. I'm calling friends of mine that have the clout to, get with 100-year check in the university, and they pretty much said, yeah, let's try to do a Bruno Mars function deal, and we tried to squeeze it in last year, even though he wasn't on tour. But Bud Walton, the reason, and thank God they're going to upgrade it to do some of the things you got to do to flip the house quicker, because the tunnel load in made it almost impossible. With women's basketball there too, made it impossible to squeeze the show in when you need 2 days before and 2 days after load in, load out. To do it, we just could not pull it off, and I was sitting there. So anyway,
makes you just wish you had your own.
Well,
venue
they told
in your pocket.
yes. Oh boy, they told me Bruno's got a new album that's gonna be coming out. We can do it then. It's gonna time it about when Bud Walton will be ready, and we want so bad to be the first. We want so bad to be the first one to break that barrier down, doing concerts with Bud Walton. They're ready to do that because they need more revenue.
Yes.
And I'm suggesting, they start doing concerts. This is the perfect way to get your NIL money.
Bring it back to Fayetteville.
Well, yeah, and
we love the AMP. We love the
right,
AMP.
yeah, nothing.
But
And this is
we need more in Fayetteville.
Well, and AMP says this has got to be a huge place. Because Bruno Mars has sold out since 2018. He sold out every show ever with an average capacity of 16,000. So I mean, he's gonna, we need a larger place. And
here's the thing about Bruno Mars is, I'm 41 this month. My oldest child will be 21, and my youngest will be 13. That's all. We're all buying tickets.
Oh God,
all.
You talk about
and then my mother-in-law will also want to go.
Right.
I mean, that's 4 different generations of human beings that are there
totally.
for that young man.
Somebody, old school soul was always my favorite. All the stuff I was brought up, raised around, for whatever reason, I don't know, some of the soul bands Dad brought into the rink and sneaking over with my buddies to peek through the window and watch Ike and Tina Turner, whatever.
Yeah.
Soul music got in my system, man. I love it.
Bruno Mars makes me cry. I can sit and listen to him all day long.
He was oh man, something else. And this is going to be about Confunction too, because believe me, they had a thing going, and so he's offered to do a favor to do that. So we're hoping to pull this thing off. I'm not making predictions yet because weird things can happen in the music business. You don't want to say much, and I've had a bad habit. One thing I want to try to tone down. I was always get through the years of doing shows. I'd get excited about the possibility of being able to do something, and I'd always want to kind of poll friends of mine about what do you think about this or this or this. And sometimes it happened, sometimes it wouldn't. Well, the ones that wouldn't, people act like because I mentioned whatever that I'm full of bullshit because it didn't happen. Well, sorry, you got to find out what people think about stuff. So that's kind of what happened. But I'm trying to keep it as low key as possible. Sometimes stuff is hard not to.
You deserve to be excited.
It'd be 50 years I've been doing this. Ironically, this year, be 50 years of my own thing going. I thought it'd be a great way to kind of put a top things off with a show like that. At least I was the first one to bring a show with Bud Walton something. To kind of
that would be awesome.
And help the community and what I've explained to them at the athletic department. Some of them, and they agree totally, is now the NIL situation and the transfer portal and all this new thing we're into, getting the funds for that. Well, here's a place, you've never had concerts, now you want to do concerts. Here's this revenue. They saw the numbers that we could do with a Bruno Mars Confunction deal. They saw those numbers. Well, there's your numbers right there. That revenue can go to help finance your NIL stuff.
Yep. Well, I would wager for sure that the magnitude that Garth Brooks brought. I mean, I know it's a different venue, but same location.
Exactly. The guys were Patrick Dale was technically the guy that had hooked up with them. He's a facility guy, and then Eric Colson has been brought on too. Eric, I believe, was originally from Syracuse. Patrick was from LSU. 2 great guys, and they were the ones that kind of got in touch with Garth Brooks. I think that somehow they connected before COVID. And then you had to table everything while that was going on. Well, Garth Brooks got back in touch. They reconnected after COVID, and Patrick's the one that kind of brought the idea to 100-year check in them, and they went for it.
It was a brilliant move after COVID because an open air arena.
Right, exactly. And there was a lot of new things that they weren't aware, they were going to be getting into that kind of show, and I guess that 100-year check, they weren't interested in doing it all the time, that maybe once in a while, whatever. But in the meantime, someone like Bruno Mars could still, I mean, we're poised was to do maybe 2 shows. I mean, we thought we could
I
sell.
remember it wasn't that long ago, maybe 15 years, maybe a little more, but Snoop Dogg
Yeah.
came to Bud Walton,
that's-
sold it out, great revenue for the city that night. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
a couple years ago, Snoop Dogg was
Dogg.
at Kane's
I remember, yeah.
Chicken, and
Oh God, I remember that. Oh, God. I know some of his people that are in Vegas is kind of a hub for a lot of these the rap hip hop stuff, and they're really neat people. They all know Bruno and stuff, and they all kind of connected. They like what Bruno has kind of brought some of the rap hip hop people. They're at some point, only they want to branch out too. And the old school soul thing, a lot of their music, you hear some old school soul in their stuff.
it's a great crossover.
Oh, it is. I mean, they bridge, and there's some names, that are already established in the rap hip hop stuff that want to. Now Anderson .Paak, joined up with Bruno on the Silk Sonic thing. He's a good example, man. That Silk Sonic record was, no wonder it went platinum. Is awesome. It's just the stuff I love. I can listen to that Silk Sonic, the last album, over and over. Just really good music. That's my kind of thing. So anyway, that's what I've been really diving into. But the year of trying to get things, we had the money ready, everything ready for Bruno, so we just couldn't fit the deal in. And it was like trying to find the right time to do it after basketball, if we could figure it out before the construction. And that's when he was going into some management issues were going on. It got to be quite. I felt like I was in a cartoon, the Roadrunner Coyote thing. I was the Roadrunner, Bruno was the Coyote.
So you almost can't script that kind of
stuff. Oh, I
can't,
man. It got to be kind of comical. I mean, what can you do when someone goes? You just got to use a sense of humor and get laughed through. After a certain point, to get through the stress, the aggravation, you just got to kind of finally. So I just kind of said, "Hell, I'm the Roadrunner. He's the Coyote. That's what. Enough is enough." So, it is what it is. But we're try it again. But that's kind of, I'm trying to hit a home run for the community and do something really cool to get things going. They use that venue some too, and the amp's awesome. I mean, what they do, Brian, what they've done with that, that thing is amazing. But, there are times when there's not enough seats, I'm sure, and it could get hotter than hell too.
It is very hot. I've worked out there.
Yeah,
I had a heat stroke out there. Brian handed me a Gatorade. So I was almost dying one day.
There's nothing wrong with going inside in the cool air conditioning in August for a show too. I mean, it doesn't always have to be outside.
I was watching a documentary. Oh, God. Forgive me, I watch a lot, but I'm from Memphis, and I remember when the pyramid was being built. And they were talking about how it was envisioned to be this indoor. It was supposed to be a basketball arena and / concert venue, and then they got in there and tried to do a concert, and the acoustics in a triangle-shaped room that goes up that.
Yeah.
It's not.
I remember
quite,
that. Yeah.
Didn't quite work out.
Does it still exist?
The pyramid is now the Bass Pro Shop.
Oh, God.
And they serve lovely fried alligator with an alligator swimming next to you in this aquarium.
No, plenty of room for it, I'm sure, with that.
It's actually interesting. I spent time in Memphis for International Blues Challenge, and you have to stay the full 5 days, and you have to stay on Beale, and you park your car for 5 days, and you don't try to drive anywhere because finding parking again is $25 a day.
Yeah.
It's insane, but.
Yeah, but you said you're from Mitchell now, being from Memphis, so yeah, that was my dad's he really connected with the Memphis thing too when he's booking back in the day. Ray Brown was the big agent then that did a lot of the stuff from the Sun
Studios
Records. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that came out of there, he'd give my dad to book and stuff. The Memphis connection was big. The Tulsa Memphis thing with my dad fit right there. He was well connected, with that group, and that's where Confunction. I kind of found them through the Memphis channels, and my dad's accident happened. Joe Phelps was helping me, get in touch with some of the bands, people that my dad had already been booking, of course, and this one that came up that I'd been hearing about, but we never had a chance to yet book, and that was Confunction. That, like I said, they moved from the Bay Area to Memphis, developed their own stuff with Isaac Hayes' studio they had there, and God, what a great connection that was, and that's kind of stuff. I like the old school soul. What can I say? You know, I mean, Al Green, Marvin Gaye, you just doesn't get any better than
I
and
totally agree with you.
Yeah, Aretha and all. I mean, geez.
We could spend a whole other episode just talking about that kind. That's my world. I'm a blues singer.
Oh my God! Yeah.
That soul.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm embarrassed. I have never seen you play. I've been gone a lot. I missed stuff.
I haven't in years. I took some time to get sober, and I lost a friend, and I've lost a couple of friends. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, and this may or may not make it to tape, but my drummer was murdered in December by a police officer.
Is that the West Fork thing?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so I found myself planning the third funeral of a friend in a very short amount of time, an unrealistic amount of time for me, in a time where I was getting sober and clinging really, really hard to life, enjoying life, being here. And in every instance of my life where I've had hard times, I've so been fortunate to have the net of a music community, friends, people who just took me in and took care of me and loved me and nurtured me through music. They're like, here, you're a girl and you're crying, but let's learn a song, or let's write a song. Let's music.
Kind of channeling that grief and to
every
something.
single time, they helped me make magic out of it. And as I started to look around the room and realize that a lot of those people were gone, that helped me do those things.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was a lack of acknowledgement for our local music community. There's not an award show. There's not anything anymore that really celebrates us as a music community.
Right.
So that is the entire purpose behind our Hall of Fame project and mission now, is to, again, honor and recognize those that have done so much work. And it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
Almost.
So,
but there is a timeline, and there is a foundation that was built by those before us. And so let's put that together, what that looks like. If we were to go in to the Library of Congress, which that's my goal, and to pull out a book and open it up and what it looks like. Well, I mean, so far it looks like where we start, as far back as I've gotten so far, is with your dad, because that's the
54.
That's the earliest I have so far. But as we move forward, filling in what that looks like and honoring those people before we get to the funeral.
Right.
And maybe I know we're going to be honoring some late and greats, ours that have already have passed.
Lots,
But let's go ahead and there's not a Wikipedia page for a lot of those people.
Right.
They meant a lot to us, and so I'd like to create that and help fill that in.
Some start off with the same aspirations of the ones that have made it. Sometimes music's it's a right place, right time. Just so many things that are out of your control to happen, because there are a lot of good artists out there. Oh my God! I mean, I was watching this DJ guy that I'll have to send this to you. I just saw it a few months ago. Some guy sending the Cape Brothers stuff, and he said he's on this radio, it's a coast to coast radio deal, and he's articulate. He knows what he's talking about everything, and he loves the soul stuff. But he got all these Cape Brothers. He was so sure that he was going to be introducing. He discovered a new band, because his whole point on the show is finding bands that people don't know about. And it's easy. I mean, it happens,
Yeah.
And he thought the Capes were one of them, because he played one song.
This obscure band you've never heard of.
After about the fourth song, he just jammed. Oh God! And he starts reading off their bio thing, and he starts reading, and Leave on Helm. Oh, Midnight Special, Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and every time he gets smaller and smaller with his idea that he's going to be the one that turns somebody on. So he never realized the Cates have been around that long. You start. Oh, you feel sorry for the guy, but he was very very professional, very cool about it. Just go, man.
But I remember that feeling every time I find a new band.
Yeah.
You know, and I do get that excited.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely honest. The first time I ever met Earl Kate, I was already on stage singing, and I hear a guitar behind me, and I look, and there's this sweet gentleman, and I finish the song, and I wave, and I get off stage, and I ask my other friend, who is that? Amanda, that was Earl Kate. Who?
He'll sneak up on you, I guess, whatever.
I had no idea, and ever since then, I'm the biggest fan.
Yeah. Earl's never been one of these guys that make some major, you know he's in the room. He just kind of slip up there real modestly.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He just walked right on up, and he's the sweetest man. He gives me a big hug. I blush when I see him. I still get starstruck for no reason. He's been always so humble and nice.
Oh, God, when you see some of this, I won't name names, but some of the big stars out there, God, enough, just overdo it. And Bill Graham I remember seeing him on a talk show years ago, talking about that very thing about gimmicks and just overdoing stuff and to cover up for the lack they don't really have any talent, but they make it anyway. Whereas you find Earl and Ernie, they're just the opposite. You're everything, you wished most of people were like when it came to making it being successful and big time, whatever. I guarantee you, if they were as big as, if they end up being as big as, I'll just throw Rolling Stones or something like, they'd still be the same people, And not that the Rolling Stones are obnoxious. I'm just saying, for just give you another level, they could be at the very top of things and still be, just down to earth, kind of easygoing guys. Nothing would ever penetrate their real personalities or whatever. So. And that's going back to the local thing. We've got a lot of that local thing here. There's several talents I think of here that would probably be the same way they make it. They just kind of come from. There's something about the roots around here that kind of keep you humble. Kind of seems to me like there are some younger ones that need to be kind of. No, wait a minute here. Come on.
But I was that younger one.
Again,
that's the whole point of this. Is
right.
We're going to introduce those younger ones
to
the legends that blazed the trails before them.
Yeah. Let me tell you what a guy that plays drums with 2 tennis shoes and a dryer thinks. You need to.
Papa Rap is here? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Well, I hate to say it, but this is the end of our time today. I would love to invite you back to discuss this more, and maybe we just hang out. Like I said, I can follow you around with a video camera. And we'll
do that for sure. I have been working on a project, a documentary on my dad. We've been kind of keep that under. But Dan Dugan, a friend of mine from Malibu, that was a 17-year-old roadie for the band that I met at the Last Waltz. We've been friends ever since, and he made it big. Paramount Pictures. Now he's semi-retired, but he was a roadie for the band after my dad was killed, and he was hearing all these stories from Bill Graham, Levon, all that, and we met, and he thought it'd be kind of fun. He's kind of, like I said, semi-retired, but he likes to do a documentary here and there. He thought it'd be fun. He calls me Randy Bob, being from our Fayetteville. Hey, Randy Bob, why don't we do? Man, we should, do some of your dad's stuff. This, as the stories grew and the research I was finding out, he thought it was kind of fascinating too. And the Jack Ruby stuff, all these different people that end up being future Hall of Famers that played, and here, like I said, if I had one of these things, back when I was 5, 6 years old, I'd be multi-million.
We wouldn't be putting all the scraps together now.
Oh my God, I would have so much. Man.
Keep me updated on documentary things.
I will. I'll keep you.
So interested.
We're trying to get that rebooted. We started a year ago and kind of stopped. Man, we're finding out more stuff. Let's take a deep breath and look this over and get funding.
What this is becoming.
Yeah, well, this is again. We're finding out more stuff. The people want to come. We did come in and do some shots of the Rockwood location and different locations where Shamrock used to be, where Motel 6 is now, and of course George's and the rink and some of the places around. We did some location stuff, and then went over to Tulsa and did some stuff there. But now, we're trying to get into. We thought we'd get into interviews and get some interviews done because we had Tina Turner set up and her health went south. We couldn't get. We're going to do a Zoom thing with her, and some of the marquee names that could really be a help on the interest in the thing of people that played there. And we're working on Van Morrison. We got some stuff on Robbie before he died. You know, we got about 15 minutes with him, trying to get Billy Gibbons, and Joe Walsh and Van Morrison, and 10 of those have been the 5. And then of course Earl Cate and Ernie, Steve Cropper, and some of those. We're trying to get as many people as we can. We're going to get like Ronnie Hawkins, Jerry Lee Lewis. They died, and that's when we decided we better get on this.
Get on it now.
Focus on this now and wait on this other stuff. We're not going to have anybody left to interview with any marquee. Some of those names, big names, to help tell the story and give it credit. I mean, it's credible, but you still want to have those names.
That's why I'm here talking with you today.
I know, yeah.
You're helping me make the Hall of Fame super credible.
Yeah, and I just, there's a lot of stuff. I told you on the phone yesterday about name dropping. I get so shy about doing that because I hear people. Oh God, here we go.
In the hall, the name dropping is very welcome because we want to make sure we acknowledge each one of those people.
Yeah, and there's so many local ones. People. David Starr, by the way, good buddy, has done wonderful things with his stuff.
Love David. We had him in here 2 weeks ago, right when he came into town for the songwriter.
Did he tell you about when I was first booking, doing my own booking stuff, and I booked him? Oh God, a fraternity gig on State Driving. Hell, I had him going the wrong next door fraternity instead of the one, and it had to be one of the hardest load-in fraternities of all time. Load up the top, and there was the wrong one. And boy, I was not thank God he had. Oh God, Jeff Green, those guys. Oh God, never could. I was just so embarrassed that that's an example of living, experience and whatever. I don't know how. Sigma Phi Epsilon, Sigma Alpha Epsilon. I got them all stripped. Both had them to the wrong place. Oh boy, big time stuff, right?
He didn't tell me that one, but he did tell me a leave-on story that he wouldn't tell me on camera.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I think we're gonna have to wrap up today, Randy. I really appreciate your time. Thanks
wonderful.
For coming in.
Yes, Amanda.
We will visit again
Absolutely.
very soon.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.